Welcome to Dear Tay, You Got This. This podcast is a weekly motivational love letter to those who are looking for a change, are currently going through a change, and they need just a little pick-me-up. Tay is a transformation and spiritual coach and author who understands that one small habit over 1 year can create a lifetime of growth. First, we will talk about our topic, and at the end of each episode, I will do a trinity. The trinity is a brag, gratitude, and desire. If you'd like to share your wins, questions, and trinity, please call or text 330-552-7234 to be featured on the podcast. I love hearing about your success and how you are transforming. To learn more about your host, visit her Instagram page, Phoenix of Change. In April of 2023, I found a certification program called Mental Health First Aid. As a coach, I felt that it was important for me to learn ways to talk to people, especially if they are experiencing a mental health crisis. Working with people going through trauma could be a daily occurrence, and I wanted to be prepared. During the next couple of months, I will be doing a self-care series. I will be talking about the different types of self-care and how I use them during my first year of consistent healing practices. Note that your experience may be different and that I was not actively using these techniques at the beginning, but they grew into my life. Self-care is all about putting your oxygen mask on first to be able to help others. Self-care are the activities and practices that you engage in to help reduce stress and maintain your health and well-being. It is meant to refuel you, not deplete you. The areas of self-care that can help your overall well-being include intellectual, emotional, environmental, physical, spiritual, financial, community, and occupational. In 2022, I decided that I wanted to be more consistent in my business. And one of the ways that I thought to do that was to grow my TikTok following. Now, at the time, I was making videos, but I didn't feel like they were reaching the audience that I was looking for. So what did I do? I needed to have a catch. So my catch was doing sock videos. And basically what that means is I got on TikTok every morning. I uploaded a video saying, hey, these are my socks for the day, my motivational speech, and then showed everyone my socks. Surprisingly enough, I ended up having over 230 plus pair of socks. And trust me, the collection is still extensive. Now, the 230 pairs grows every single day, every single week, every single month. But I can tell you that one of the places that I ended up getting socks from was Chakra Wonders. When I went on their website, not only did I see that they had socks, but I also saw that they had artwork, mugs, hats, and even some books. It is such a great place to go to, especially if you're looking for something that is going to... What I love about Chakra Wonders is that it's an organization that provides products and accessories to those interested in astrology, metaphysics, and self-healing practices. Their mission is to build a resort-style facility structured around modern and advanced holistic and naturopathic therapies for physical and spiritual healing. When you make a purchase, you are helping them build a holistic sanctuary for wellness and renewal. Go to chakrawonders.com and use coupon code DEARTAY to receive 15% off your purchase. That is chakrawonders.com. Chakra Wonders is an organization that provides products and accessories to those interested in astrology, metaphysics, and self-healing practices. Their mission is to build a resort-style facility structured around modern and advanced holistic and naturopathic therapies for physical and spiritual healing. When you make a purchase, you are helping them build a holistic sanctuary for wellness and renewal. Go to chakrawonders.com and use coupon code DEARTAY to receive 15% off your purchase. That's WONDERS.com. Good morning, and welcome back to Dear Tay, You Got This. Today we are going to be talking about the May 2023 accomplishments and things that I realized and changes that happened in my life last year after I stopped drinking and started getting up at 6 a.m. To basically do business stuff. I'm super excited to talk today about the self-care steps that I took in May, because this was a very pivotal point in my healing. And it was really, really interesting. I really enjoyed, honestly, I really just enjoyed like what I was doing. And even though during the end of May, April, and during the end of March, April, and then going into May, there were a lot of feelings that were not online. I definitely still seen a lot of changes within myself, which is very good to see when you're going through healing. One of the things that I would definitely suggest when you're doing your self-care, if you're on your healing journey, if you're just looking to make a change, is to write in your journal the things that you're doing and what changes you see. This is very important for reflection. I have not yet done this, which is really funny that I'm telling you guys to do this. And I think probably sometime during this year, when I get some free time, I will sit back and kind of read through the journals that I had in 2023 to get a little bit more insight on, what it was that I was doing, how I was feeling, how things have changed so far. One of the things that I was thinking about as I was, recording the last podcast and really just thinking about all of the things that I personally feel have gone through, and how I now go through my daily life. I realized that because I did take this chance to like sit back, reevaluate, change some of the things that were going on in my self-care areas, what I realized is that I really do feel a lot more happy. I feel a lot more secure in my life. I feel a lot more at peace. My reaction to things that I would normally have a crazy reaction to have fallen away, which is really interesting. And I want to definitely attribute that to really knowing what it is that I want in my life and how I want to present myself to other people, what the things that I want in my life and the things that I want to attract to me. Um, and I have to say that I'm very proud of myself in all of the changes that I've gone through. And I know that there are people out there who have seen it. Um, does that mean that I have become a little bit more to myself? Yes. As an extrovert, that's kind of hard, but because of the peace that I've created in my life, I really don't have time to go out and deal with all the crazy kookiness that's going on with people and the things that they want or desire that don't align with what I want or desire. It's very interesting and easy to get lost within that, and I've really put myself in a position to not do that. And it's nice. Honestly, it's really nice. It's been super, super nice. So I would definitely suggest writing in your journal, or making a note on Google Docs or inside of your phone, notepad or whatever. Making notes about the things that you're doing right now so that a year from now, kind of like what I'm doing. So a year from now, you can look back at things and be like, wow, that was actually very interesting. And I'm glad that I made these changes for this reason. It's really interesting, over the next few weeks, as we talk about the months as we go by, you'll start to see that there are a lot of changes. And I mean, I thought that last year was only going to be just me really working on the things that I could change, and not really working on everything that was in my, self-care area. But it turned out as I started changing some of those things at the beginning of the year and we get through into the middle of the year, really started to see a big difference and was like, oh, let's go ahead and start this. I will say that I was definitely guided by the universe when it came to a lot of the stuff that was going on last year, and I'm super excited to share that information with you guys. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about May 2023 and the things that I did to help me through my deep sadness and the things that I noticed about myself as I go into the middle of the year. One of the first things was I did an energy healing and it was body code. And I did that with my friend Shannon, someone that I had also met on my summit. I did 3 sessions and released a lot of sadness, despair, curses, and energy that kept me stuck. And I will talk about that in a little bit more because despair was a word that came up a lot in my energy sessions, and we'll go ahead and we'll talk about that, and also in my NET session. So we'll talk about that later. I started my new job, which was nice. I started that in the middle of the month. That was after doing 2 weeks and then taking off a week. I took off a week beforehand to really get myself together emotionally, which was super important to me. I could not start a new job and not be all the way there, all the way committed to what I was doing. And I will talk about that as well. NET session happened on my ex-partner's birthday. And it helped me to release a lot of the baggage, the sadness, and emotional weight I held in that relationship. Um, Work was a better environment. Things seemed calmer. I was happier and felt like I was getting back to normal. My emotions started to go back online close to the end of the month, and like beginning of June. I decided to add in running to my routine to manage stress. I stopped talking to an ex coworker after a minor confrontation at her house on Memorial Day. And I basically had decided that I had had enough of people who are not open-minded or people who are small-minded. And it was very interesting. And I'll talk a little bit more about that too, but there's a lot of things that go into really understanding what it is that you want in your life, how you want to move, who you want to tell certain things to, things like that. If you think about all of your relationships, your friendships, your platonic friendships, your um, platonic intimate relationships, your romantic relationships, you will see that there's like a different level of each that you have. I have associates and people that I talk to, not really on a consistent basis, that I don't tell a lot of things to. Like there's just some things that I keep to myself, because I personally feel like not everybody needs to know your business, but there's some things that everybody knows. Like if you've listened to my podcast, if you've ever been a client of mine, things like that, you know a lot more intimate details about my past and what I went through as a kid than you would if you were just some stranger on the street or somebody that I met at a bar. Then you have friends who know a little bit more, but they don't know like the deep like recesses of my mind and my heart. But they do know the things that I put out there, which are basically the normal things that I don't change. I have friends who are like, you live the most like your life, the most authentic you ever. And I'm like, yeah. And I have friends who like explain to me or explain to other people how like authentic I am when it comes to a lot of things. Because one, I pull no punches. Two, I give zero fucks about what other people think about me. And that's more so on the level of if you saw me walking down the street and you had no interaction with me, there should be no reason why you have a problem with me. If you had an interaction with me, there's a possibility that on 2 fronts, one, you think I'm the nicest person alive. The second part is you think I'm rude because I speak my mind. I mean, there are those 2 aspects of it. There are some people who sit in the middle and, those people still like hang around, talk to me, things like that. But it really hasn't gone anywhere else. So that's pretty much like friendships. And then the third is like those like those personal relationships, like the romantic relationships that I have with my partner, our potential partners, my best friends, what they know versus what everybody else knows is completely different. And same with family. Family doesn't know exactly everything, but they know enough. Um, and that right there is one of the things that I think about when it comes down to like the levels of friendships and information that people get. You guys, as my, podcast listeners, you guys are going to get a lot more, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing this and telling you guys the things that happened and the changes that I went through in my life, because what I want you guys to realize and see is that I'm just like everybody else. I make mistakes. I go through shit. Um, I have my own things that I have going on. Like I have my own insecurities, I have my own fears, and things like that. And I think that most times people think that the people who are healing or have healed are going through a transformation think that they're better. And I just want to let you know, like, no, I don't think that I'm better than anybody else. I don't think that I'm better than, Joe Schmo down the street who's not doing work on themselves. But I do want to say that I made better choices with my life, and those better choices led to me feeling good about my life. They led me to being who I am. And that right there is nothing that I'm ashamed of. Now, does that again mean that I'm better than you? No, but that is also something that you want to look at for yourself and see why you feel so insecure around people who are doing the work, who are healing, who have a business idea just like yours that's doing way better than yours, things like that. You want to kind of sit back and think about what that looks like and why. And what I can say is, just as a tip, if you heard that and you're like, ooh, damn, that hit a little bit, I want you to go back and listen to the podcast episode that I did about imposter syndrome. And that's if, like, for some reason you skipped over that section, or if you just want to listen to it again to kind of get the idea of what I'm talking about, then I would definitely go back there and listen to it, because it talks about your insecurities and how that comes out in other ways. And this would probably be one of them. When you feel inferior to another person, think about what it is that they actually have that you want. And you can think about why you don't have it, or you can think about how you can get it. And it's all just a mindset shift. Usually when you think about like why, like when you have ask why questions, like, yes, you're like answering these questions for yourself, really understanding and digging deep. But when you ask yourself how, that's going to put you into a state of action. So I really just want you to think about that. All right. Now, when it comes down to the areas of self-care that we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about occupational, financial, and physical self-care. These are some things that I mentioned inside of my accomplishments and things that I noticed over the month of May. So I really want to go ahead and touch base on those particular self-care areas. But the first thing that I want to discuss is this word despair. And I feel like it's very important going into when I talk about like the energy work and the NET sessions that I did over the last, couple of months, April and May of last year, how that really affected my mindset and what I decided to do to change all of that. So yeah, I would like to go ahead and start with that. So at the time that all of this stuff was going on and I was really starting to get better, from, healing from this breakup that was so basically devastating to me. The word despair kept coming up in my energy readings, and it also came up in my NET session. And I bring that up because despair, what I did was, after I heard this word so many times, it was funny because I had told my NET therapist at the time that we were doing the session that I had never felt despair before. I didn't know what that was. And she talked to me about it. And then I went and looked it up because, you Google things, or, you go to Webster's dictionary and, see what despair means. And it's basically a loss of a loss. It is basically a feeling of hopelessness. And in that moment, in that time that I had gone through this breakup and went into this soul death that I had, I realized that as I looked at it, and I even look back on it, I realized that it was a state of despair because I felt like I had lost everything. I had lost myself within a relationship that basically over time stopped to suit me, but I stayed. I had given everything that I thought that I could give. I had basically let this relationship become such a deep part of me that once I lost it, it was gone. Like there was nothing else that I could do. It felt like, at least. Um, and as I started going through my life and going through my energy sessions and things like that, and really looking at and releasing these things, I realized that it became harder for me to look at myself in this state because it seems so restrictive. A lot of times when you hear about despair, it's usually regarding desperation and the things that people will do to get themselves out of a situation or to build something or whatever, have you. It really does um, give you an idea of where people are in their lives and how they react to certain things. And I think for me, that was really a big thing, was not to react out of desperation, which was basically like, dating more people, going out and having more sex with strangers, like things like that. I'm not saying that I did those things. I'm just saying that, sometimes there were times before the not drinking that I was doing things that I probably, and like that I think now, like, oh, that was fun, but like, I wouldn't do that again, right? I wouldn't say that it's bad. I'd just say I probably wouldn't do that again now in the state that I'm in, right? So it was like really understanding what that emotion meant to me because I was in such a state of deep sadness. And I didn't know how to pull myself out. And going to NET therapy really helped because not only did we release those emotions, but she did help me to realize and think more deeply about what it was that I wanted to change in my life. And I'm super thankful for her for helping me do that. And then you have me going into quite a bit of life changes and what it was that I really needed to do, whether it was getting a new job, whether it was dropping people who I felt like I no longer had a connection with, things like that. So when it comes down to it, we're going to go ahead and talk about those 3 areas of self-care. And at this point, I will say that because my emotions started to come back online, I was able to really get a hold of myself. I think taking that week off before I started my new job was really helpful because it really allowed me to have my emotions, to sit on my couch and eat ice cream or eat ice cream for dinner or really just nap all day. I think I did go out um once or twice. But for the most part, I like stayed in and really just like nurtured myself and cared for myself because I knew that's what I needed to do. And my NET session happened before I started this job. And I think it was like the week before I went on this week-long little vacation before I started this job. So it really gave me some insight on finding who I am, what I can do, and things like that. So it was actually really nice. So for the first area of self-care, we're going to talk about occupational. And just like last week, I did talk about getting the new job. And this week, I'm going to talk about what it was like going into that new job with the knowledge that I knew about the practice and really just understanding like what changes that were really made and how it really affected me. So I started my new job in the middle of May. And it was actually really nice to go into a place where it was new, where they knew that I had not done that kind of work in a while, although I was still a paralegal. I had not done that particular area of law for at least 3 years. So a lot of the things that I had knew were very faint. And there was a lot that I had to learn, and they were okay with that. And when I went into work, my disposition was a lot better. I knew that I was going to be on the phones. I knew that I was like the face of the front office. When people came in, when clients came in, they saw me. And I knew that eventually going forward, after being there for a while, and getting used to the job and what it was that was asked of me and things like that, I literally was going to be talking with clients. I was going to be interacting with them on a more constant basis than the attorney. And that's the way that he had designed his practice, so that I was doing most of the FaceTime and that he was doing, his lawyering. And when he needed to step in and talk with the clients, he would. But that was really the changes to the job that I was looking at. I went from a job where I felt like people weren't doing their job, where people asked 110,000 questions after a year of being there. Um, I worked super late hours, things like that. Like, I went from that to going to a place where I had a quote unquote normal schedule. I was working 8:30 to 5. At 5 o'clock, I got off. Now, are there days that I get off a little bit after that? Yes. But for the most part, I've never stayed any later than like 5:15. Okay. Which helped with my work-life balance. When I went to work, they had a garden in the back. They had just started a garden, which was super exciting because looking at that every day really does bring a different kind of light to your life. And super ecstatic that I've had the opportunity to work with people who are growing their own food, growing their own vegetables, things like that, and are so abundant with what they have, and giving. And that really is important to me. So changing that and coming in and being a lot happier, that my environment seems calmer, that it's not as stressful. I should say it's stressful, just with a different type of stress. There's a difference between having 700 plus open cases and having 70 open cases, but 70 cases even though they're not as strenuous or stressful, they do still have their amount of stress that goes with them, considering the area of law that I work in. When it comes down to the people who actually work there, everybody does their part. Being the new person at a job is always a little daunting for a lot of people. And the reason is because we go in there with a sense of what we already know, and then we have to learn more. And this is with any job. Like, you can go into a job, and I guess unless you were like going from one job into like a managerial position, and still having to get training and things like that. But there's only so much knowledge that about the place that you're working at and how that place operates. And that was basically what I was doing at this new place. I was really filling it out and filling out how my work schedule was going to go. I knew eventually that I was going to have to make uh, billing hours every month. And I had no idea what that was going to look like, seeing as the first, month or 3, we weren't really tracking that. And I really was just getting used to what it was that I was doing. So there's that. The next thing is I really just enjoyed having more FaceTime with clients. I think because I am an introvert, no, I'm not. Because I am an extrovert, one of the things that I do is I enjoy having that energy of other people. And it's nice. It really is nice to be able to talk to other people and have that presence, whether it be in office or over the phone, either way. One of my coworker, who is the other paralegal in the office, she does not like talking on the phone. She does not like talking to people. She likes talking to the people that she likes talking to. But I definitely know that clients in general, no matter in what area of law you work in, it can be a pretty strenuous task. And for me, it still is that. Like, there are obviously things that I can and can't do, can and can't say. And sometimes the client gets frustrated because things aren't moving as quickly as they think that they should. And I just want to give you a heads up, by the way, if you're in law, you can corroborate this with me. If you are not in law and you're going through some kind of legal procedure, please do not think that your situation, your case is going to be over as quick as you think that it will be. There are some cases that will go in, poop, they're done. Like no no questions. There are some that are going to take a while, and it just depends on the flow of everything in your that's going on. So just keep that in mind when you're talking to the paralegals, the assistants, even your attorney. There's only so much that we can do. There's not a lot of movement that we can make when it comes down to like the court systems. There are a lot of things that we can't control. The only thing that we can try to control is the outcome of your case, whatever that may be, right? But even with that type of stress, I was still happier in my new position. Now, at this time, I was very happy that I decided that this was part of my self-care. And I think about it now because having that occupational change also led to an environmental change and a financial change. And because of that, I felt a lot more comfortable in my position to really start moving forward on other things. Now, in May, I was still doing like things for my business. I was still making TikTok videos and things like that. Um, but when it came down to financial self-care, and I'm going to really quickly go over that. That's organizing your finances, budgeting, saving, creating security around your finances. When it came to that, I realized that's basically what I was doing in May. I was basically setting a foundation for myself that was going to put me in a good place, right? And when it comes to the financial self-care, one of the things that I was concerned about going into this new job was whether or not I was just going to be able to make my bills comfortably. Now, with my last job, I was not able to make my bills comfortably, which sounds absolutely ridiculous. But it's the truth. I'm going to say that it was definitely my management skills that caused that to happen. Um, but I will also say that working long hours every day, being tired all the time, things like that really put me in a state of not being able to handle what the heck was going on. So when it came down to this new job and like, the financial portion came up and I was like, okay, what does this look like? I did go back and I looked at my budget to see what it was that I could cut out, if I could cut anything out, how that was going to look, if I was going to be able to have fun money, things like that. And by doing that, I was able to see where the holes were in my budget, like where I was spending more money, which helped me to kind of dial back on some things and really look at, okay, I have enough to pay my mortgage. I have enough to pay all the utilities in the home. I have enough to put gas in my car. And I have enough to pay my car note. What is left over that I can, basically use for either fun or to pay off debt, because I wanted to get out of the situation that I was in. And I think in May, I think May was when I started to really look at my finances. I have a money journal, and with that money journal, it basically has like a 30-day prompt. And I think maybe I did it in March. I either did it in March or I did it in May, either way. But it was a 30-day journaling exercise where you basically talk about your relationship with money. And it helped me to kind of see where my mindset around money was really that it was just, you get it, you earn it, you use it. And in the sense of like it not being like it's paying for the things that it needs to be paid for, but that's it. But going over these journal prompts really helped me to realize that money is a resource. And then not only that, I was listening to a podcast where they were also like, money is a resource. So it was like, okay, how can I use this to my advantage when it comes down to starting this new job, having to pay for health insurance, making sure that, everything is on the up and up. So I really started to take back the financial side of my life, because for so long I had kind of just let it go. I had let it run rampant in my life, and that was not exactly the best thing for me to do when it came down to the money situation. And that was mostly because of my ex-husband leaving and leaving me with a mortgage that was behind and having to get that back on track and pay for basically just everything in the home. I really had to get myself back on track. And one of the things that I realized with working at my other job was that I was in survival mode. Um, and getting my finances together, although I had wanted to do that previously because of everything else that was going awry in my life, before I stopped drinking, I realized like I just did not have the capacity to get things together the way that I needed to. Um, and once I did finally get that stuff together, I'll talk about that later on, in the year of 2023, because I share with you the steps that I actually took to like get myself back on, to get my financial health back up. I really realized that there were so many things that I was doing that I definitely needed to change. And really changing how much money I was bringing in was the first step. And I know that some of you guys are going to be like, but what if I can't make any more money? There's always more money to be made. Whether it be in your job, whether it be a side hustle, whether it be getting a new job, whatever it is that you need to do for your financial health, you go ahead and do that. For me, once I started this new job where I was making a little bit more money than what I was making before, I was able to put things into perspective. I was able to get my budget together and I was able to follow that budget. And trust, I did a lot better on following my budget in 2023 than I did in the years previous. And sometimes it just takes that mindset. It really does take that consistency, and really understanding what it is that you want to do with your life so that you can move forward. Okay. So when it comes down to your financial self care, definitely take a look at what it is that you want your finances to do for you. Okay. I'm not talking about just going on expensive trips and fancy luxury yacht cruises or whatever we all have in mind, right? I really am talking about what is it what is it that you can use your finances for to help you move forward in life, whether it be with your business, whether it be with your family, whether it be with work, how you can do that. I feel like that's very important to understand those things when going into financial health or financial self-care. All right. So I had to stop for a second and go get my fan because I feel like I'm having a hot flash. So, anywho's it's that has more to do with the fact that my house is hot, and not my body. At least temperature wise. So there's that. Anywho's it. The next part of self-care that I wanted to talk about, and I should say the last part of self-care that I wanted to talk about was the physical self-care. Now, I do want to let you guys know, there's a couple caveats that you guys need to know. One, I do not exercise on a normal basis. That is not something that I do. And it's mostly because I don't want to. That's the first thing. The second thing is because I feel like working out is repetitive. And yes, I understand all of the health buffs out there, all the professional um, fitness gurus and fitness trainers and all that are going to say, but exercise is important. And yes, it's repetitive so that you can build muscle and all these things. Yes, I know. Why do I know this? Because my ex-husband used to be a personal trainer and he also worked out like a crazy person. So there's that. So I understand the importance of exercise. I understand the importance of, doing exercise over and over and over again, to build those muscles. I understand doing the same variation of an exercise, so that you can build different muscles. Just like when it comes down to your arms, like there's like several different types of push-ups, and it's because it pushes different areas of your arms, of your arm muscles, in order to build those muscles. I was a pole fitness instructor for about a year or a year and a half, 2 years before COVID hit. And we had to learn about, all the muscles and things like that in the body and what they do, how they work, what muscles were getting worked when you did certain movements and things like that. So I do understand the reasoning behind it. But for me, that's boring. So I don't really like to work out. And if I do, it's usually like dancing or something like that. The next thing is I'm not exercising unless I'm training for something. In 2019, I did the Spartan out in Chicago, Illinois, and actually it ended up being in Wisconsin. I can't remember what the little place was that we went to, but it said that it was in Chicago. It was like on the border. Um, and Before that happened, I thought that it was in the middle of the summer. So I thought that maybe I was going to die while I was on this doing my run. And I did the little baby run, whatever. I can't remember what that's called at the moment. Oh, the sprint. I did the sprint, which was the shortest of the three races. And before each race comes about, and I'm assuming that this is for each race and not just for the sprint, the Spartan um company sends out an email to the participants with a workout that they can do like 5 weeks before. At least for me, it was 5 weeks before, to help train them for the Spartan, which I thought was actually super cool. It's kind of like if you, I have a Samsung phone, um, and Android. So on my Android, I have an app that is for health. And in that particular app, they have little like training things that you can do. And one of them is like baby steps to 5K. So it's learning how to run a 5K while you're building up the tolerance to actually run a 5K. And in order to do that, one of the things that they do is every day you do something different. You start out by walking for a couple of weeks, and then after a couple of weeks, I should say after a few days, you like speed up your walking speed. And then after a couple of weeks, you start jogging, and you're doing intermittent jogging. So it's like for 1 minute you're jogging, and then for 2 minutes you're walking. And then you go up from there, 2 minutes jogging, 1 minute walking, and things like that. It was the same thing with the Spartan. What they did was they sent out a plan for 5 weeks, and basically you worked out 5 days a week. And yes, it was different exercises. I was determined not to die. So I actually did as much as I could to really help myself get into grips of going through the challenges of a Spartan. And basically the race that I did was, I believe it was, mine was a 3K with 20 obstacles. So just to let you know what that actually looked like. The day that we went, it had rained the day before, so it was muddy, it was hot, it was muggy. But I had the time of my life, and I ran with a friend, which was very much a big accomplishment. But in May of 2023, and this was years after the Spartan, one of the things that I realized was that because I no longer was drinking, I needed a stress reliever. Meditating was helping, but when my brain got super busy, I didn't know what to do. Like it was almost like I was super fucking restless. And I really had no idea what I was going to do with my life in general. So one of the things that I ended up doing was I started running. I went back to running. And it was very interesting. I really felt like um, it was it was one of those things where I knew that I needed to do something to really release what was going on in my mind, because meditating was so calming that it didn't really do what I needed it to do, right? Because I would just sit there and I would think in my thoughts, and then I would get more angry, more agitated, more restless. And I was like, no, I need physical exertion. I need to physically move my body in order to get things done. So that's basically what I ended up doing. So I started running, and this wasn't like I, instantly started running a 3K. Like, no, I basically started off in the same way that I would have with the baby steps to 5K. I'd go out, I'd start running. When my body got tired, I'd go ahead and take a walk. And then when I was ready to run again, I'd go ahead and run. And I did this on and off like 4, 5, 6 times before I got back to my house, basically. And at that time, I was only running I think I was only going like 1 or 2 miles, maybe. Sometimes I went to the park, sometimes I stayed around my neighborhood. If I stayed in my neighborhood, sometimes from my house I'd go left. Sometimes from my house I'd go right. It just depended on where I was at. And for me, it was easier to do this after work, because although I was getting up early in the morning, I was doing work stuff. So I wasn't really like, oh, yes, let's go ahead and go exercise. That's not what I was doing. I was like, yo, we're going to go ahead and do this right after I get off work. So what I would do is I would come home right after I got off of work. I would go ahead and change into my leggings, and I'd put on my tennis shoes, and then I would walk right back out the front door, because it was just so much easier for me to do that and put that into my routine. And physical self-care is important as well, because really what it is about, it's about moving your body, whether that be through exercise, sports, yard work, going outside and playing. Like, yes, I understand that I'm a freaking adult, but trust and believe, when the snow comes, I am outside in the snow. When the rain comes, in the summertime only, I am outside in the rain. I love to go outside and play. And oftentimes I'm outside playing by myself, because I really don't care about what other people think. If I go to a park, maybe I'll run around on the swing sets. At the job that I had before, I found a park that I knew existed, but didn't know existed. Like, I never had been there. And what I would do is, on my break, I would actually, like, once 2023 had started and I was like, I need to get more steps in my life, I would leave my job. I'd go to the park. I'd go and do a little workout. I'd run and do some things, and then I'd come back. And it was really just to blow off steam. It was to really manage the stress that I was going through. And then after I got back home, I'd come home, I'd shower, I'd eat, and then I would rest, or I'd work on my business. And it really was one of those things that really kept me, it kept my mind from getting so busy, and being able to really work through it. And I don't know, it's like, if you think about it, it's kind of like driving in a sense, and going on autopilot. When you start exercising or putting some type of physical routine into your day, you start doing these things on autopilot. And one of the things that showering, exercising, and driving have in common is that you get to a point during these things that you literally are thinking about something else, and then all of a sudden your workout is done, or you've made it to your destination, or your shower's over and you have like 15,000 ideas that you then came up with while you were in the shower, right? It's the same thing. It just basically busies your body so that your brain can actually focus on what it's doing. And the funny thing is, as I talk about that, I'm like, maybe I did that to escape my thoughts. And I think about that and I'm like, no, actually, it definitely helped. When I was angry, or when I was sad, or when I had a big decision to make, I'd actually go out and run. Now, I don't really run as much. But every once in a while I get the urge and I'll go run. Like a couple weeks ago, I want to say it was a couple weeks ago. A couple weeks ago, I went running. After I got off work, because I was like, I have a lot of built up energy. What am I going to do with this? So that's what I did. I got off work. I came home. I put on my tennis shoes and my leggings, and I ran. And I didn't run for very long. I didn't even go that far, honestly. I was just like, yeah, I need to blow the steam off. And I did. And afterwards, like, I was able to think a little bit more clearly, get that blood flow to the brain, think a little more clearly, come up with some solutions, things like that. So it's very important to add physical self-care into your routine. And again, it doesn't have to be something as big as running. I know that there are some people out there who are like, I'm not going to run unless I'm being chased by something, which is cool. I also feel you on that. However, you can do other things. You can walk around your house and you can clean. You can go outside and, like I said, do yard work. You can power wash your steps in the side of your house. Like, whatever it is, you can put some type of physical activity into your week, that will help increase the blood flow, get rid of that restlessness, help with your stress, things like that. Sometimes I think the physical is better than breaking things, and that's just me on a personal level. But will I still break things? Absolutely. In 2023, I went to two different rage rooms, or well, I should say, I went to the same rage room with two different people, and the reason why was because I was sad. I was upset. I needed to break things, and I didn't want to break the things in my house, so I went and broke somebody else's things, and I didn't have to clean it up. So it's like really understanding what it is that you need to physically exert yourself so that you can start to let go of that stress, let go of that fatigue, and really start to move forward. And I think that's really the whole point of this series is really understanding who you are to the point that when it comes to all of these areas of self-care, you can literally just pick one and say, all right, this week I'm going to do physical. I'm going to make sure that I do 6,000 steps this week. Or maybe more than that, right? Because I think my watch even says like 6,000 steps a day, which by the way, I do not hit. Um, but you know, put those goals out there, put those things out there for your self-care, put those plans out there for your self-care. That way, as things, as life continues to move and things go on, that you really understand like how your mind works, how your body works, what your body is telling you. These areas of self-care are all ways to understand where you're going in life, what you want to do in life, how you want to present yourself in life, and really just help you to sit back and see your life as something that you are leading and not something that it's basically just happening to you, right? And really, that's the whole point of this series. Other than the fact to tell you that self-care is important and that self-care looks different for everybody. Um, it really is to let you know, like, hey, do this self-care because it's showing yourself that you really care about what you're doing, who you're becoming, how you want to present yourself. And in real life, it's come a long way for me since starting all of this. And I feel like the sooner that we start making a plan and actually working the self-care plan, um, the more that we start to understand about ourselves, the more that we really start to put ourselves out there, and really start to see changes and transformation. And so with that, I'm going to leave you with occupational, financial, and physical. This week, go ahead and pick one of those categories or more, and create a plan this week to do in one of those things. Do you need to sit down and look at your job and think about the ways that you can make it a better place to be? Or or have you been thinking about looking for a different job and you're like, okay, what is it that I want from a job? Go ahead and do that. Sit down, think about your occupational health. When it comes down to your financial health, do you need to set a budget? Do you need to have a meeting with your money? Do you need to have a meeting with your significant other about the money, so that you can see where you are, how financially secure you are, what that looks like, if there are areas that need to grow, things like that. And then when it comes to your physical health, should you be, do you think that you should be walking more? Do you think that you should take a Rumba class? Rumba? Is it Rumba? Roomba? Am I just making up words? No, I think Roomba is, I think that's a class. Um, do you feel like you just need to stretch? Do you feel like you need to do yoga? Do you feel like your yard hasn't been done in a while, so you need to go out there and cut the grass? Like, what is it that you need? Take a look at this week, see where you can put it in there, and don't just fit it in to a nook and cranny. Actually take the time out to do these things. One of the things I tell people, like, yes, no, I don't have a significant other who lives with me. I do not have children. However, I know people who have these things in their life and are still able to add in self-care, are still able to add in, taking a bath, working out, meditating, drinking a cup of coffee and reading a book. Like, there are times that you can do this. All you have to do is create the time. In 2023, I created the time. I got up at 6 a.m. every morning for like 4 or 5 months. And literally in the morning, that's what I did. I didn't eat breakfast. I got up, I did my TikTok videos. I sat sometimes and I read. Sometimes I drank a cup of tea. Like there were certain things that I did before I went to work where I was just like, all right, this actually helps my day go a little bit smoother. If you have a newborn baby that gets up at 3 a.m. crying and you have to feed them and change them, get up, do that. During that time, after you've put them down back to go to sleep, go ahead and just sit with yourself. Read a chapter of a book, read 5 pages of a book, something. If you have school age children and they have to get up at a certain time to go do things and get ready, and it's always a hassle to get them up because they're young and they don't want to get up and go to school. That's also fine. Get up an hour before they do. Go make yourself a cup of coffee, make your spouse a cup of coffee, sit, have a conversation with your spouse. Like take that time to do it. If you only have time to get up and go through your day, and then when you get home you don't have the time to do it, at 9 o'clock every night when you put the kids to bed, or whenever you put the kids to bed, take that time, take an hour to do whatever it is that you want to do. Do you want to go dancing? Do you want to set up a karaoke station in your basement and go sing karaoke? There are always ways that you can do the things that you want to do. You just have to find the time to do it. At this point, when it comes down to recording podcasts, when it comes down to getting my programs together, writing my book, and doing things like that, I get up early in the morning. I get up at 6. Today I got up at 5:30, but I get up at 6 a.m. just about every day, except for Saturday and Sunday, to do work on my business. And the reason why I do that is because, one, doing this podcast is important to me. And eventually, I want this to be bringing in money. And in order for me to do that, I have to come on here. I have to show up. Now, could I be showing up more? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm doing what is best for me in this moment right now. If I want to put in more physical activity into my life, I'm going to start doing that after I get off work. Because I have the time. From the time that I get home from work, I have time to go out, exercise for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes maybe, come back, take a shower, eat dinner, and then go back to work. I put these things into my life. Work around your schedule. You work around your schedule when your kids have baseball, when they have volleyball, when they have swim practice. Like you work around that. You work around your job. The least you can do when you do some working around is put some time in there for yourself. It is the same as when people tell you to pay yourself when you do a job. Have a 401k, have an IRA, something that you're putting savings into before you pay your bills. It's the exact same thing when it comes down to your time. Money you can get back, time you cannot. So start putting more time into what it is that you really want to do. And make sure that you're planning it. All right. So that's your homework for the week. Now, to end this podcast, of course, we're going to do the Trinity. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is my brag. Again, last week I was telling you that I don't really look at my numbers, but I had to for the sake of seeing where my progress is right now, considering that I just started this podcast in June, like the beginning of June. It's like the end of July now. Or wait, no, when I post this, it's going to be August. It's going to be the beginning of August, right? I think we're going to be 2 weeks into August when I post this. And so at this point, that's June, July, 2 months. It will officially be 2 months that I have been putting up podcasts weekly. And as of the time that I am recording this, I have 16 followers on Spotify. Yes, yes. Go me, right? And I have 45 subscribers on YouTube, which is super cool. And the YouTube subscribers did come before the podcast. But I still have 45 subscribers, and I'm pretty sure since I started the podcast and started posting up stuff, the number has increased. So there we go. All right. Um, Gratitude. I was grateful to be able to see my friends in July and spend time with them. My best friends live in Georgia and Florida. And my best friend, both of their birthdays are in September. And my best friend who lives in Georgia wanted to come up to Ohio to do some early birthday shenanigans. And so we did. We came up here. And she was so sweet. She sent me a message. She was like, "Hey, I really want to do this winery tour. Like, are you going to be able to do that? Is that okay?" And I was like, "Absolutely. Like, let's go." Um, and it was great. We went out to Hocking Hills and did their winery tour out there, which I guess technically there's three wineries in Hocking Hills, and then there's like four more near like the Licking County area. And we ended up going to three different wineries. I tasted some wine, um, like little sips, and they had like a wine slushy that I had tasted. But overall, I didn't drink, but I had a great time. And it was just a day. We just went out there for a Saturday, hung out, were great, and then woke up Sunday and came back home. Like it was really like it was still the best time. But I got to hang out with them and see them and spend time with them, and that was it made my heart so happy. So I'm so grateful that I got the time to spend with them. That makes me really happy. And then my desire, one of the things that I desire is genuine connection with others. When I started this podcast, one of the reasons why I did it was basically to have something to be able to go back and listen to about the accomplishments that I've made over the years, and also be able to talk about the things that are going on in my life now and really helping people through their transformation. Um, and this is my way of being able to connect with other people on a deeper level. And when it comes down to it, I really enjoy connecting with other people. I'm assuming that's why I'm an extrovert. But I really do feel so strongly about connecting with other people. And my desire is to really connect with others on a spiritual level, and on a genuine level. Um, Not this superficial crap like, oh yeah, like just meeting somebody and we're instantly, oh, we're besties, or we just connected or anything like that. Like, no, I want a genuine connection with other people. um and I know that some of you out there are like, yes, that's what I need. That's what I want in my life. And honestly, I believe that we can all get that. I believe that that is there for us. It is there for the taking. So yeah, I just really want to find a way to start connecting with other people. And I think in my brain I have a way of doing that. As I start to look at things and look at my life and what that looks like. I'm really starting to see where I want to start connecting with people and how I want to start connecting with people. And I will tell you, it's going to be a journey. Um, And I feel like when it comes down to all of this, like you guys will get updates as I go along, and what that looks like. But I'm so thankful for the peace that I found in my life. And at times it can get lonely. Um, Again, I do still have my friends that I talk to and things like that and hang out with. But at times it feels like, again, it still feels like I'm the only one doing the things. So it does still get lonely. But And overall, I am very happy, very happy with myself and with my life. So please go out there, be great, share this podcast with somebody. If anything that I said during this podcast resonates with you, share this podcast with someone. If you want to share your wins, text our text line 330-552-7234. You can also call that number and leave a message, and I will talk about it on the next podcast. If you have any questions or things like that, you can text those as well, or you can send an email to info@desirablephoenix.com. And I will answer you back on the podcast. So super excited, so very happy that you have joined me this week. And I hope that you've gotten something out of the self-care series. Please leave a comment below. Subscribe to the podcast because that lets me know that I have, followers and things like that. And then also share it with a friend because I really feel like a lot of the things that I feel like some of the things that I have to say are important. But if you don't feel like that, you can also tell me that too. Like just go ahead and go on my podcast or go on the comments and tell me not to say anything else and get off the podcast. It probably won't work. I will probably still do this, but at least, let me know your opinion. I really would love to hear it. I hope that you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week and I will talk to you soon.